My daughter looked me in the eye and said, "I'd rather lose you than my husband." That sentence tore our entire family apart. But what happened next was even more heartbreaking. This story will leave you questioning everything about loyalty and love. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching us from. We continue. I promise that this will be the best story you will hear in your life. Catherine Morgan stood at the window of her Manhattan penthouse, watching the city lights flicker like stars beneath her. At 52, she had built an empire from scratch, Morgan Enterprises, a leading marketing firm with offices in 3 countries. Her manicured fingers tapped against the crystal glass of scotch, a habit she'd developed in boardrooms full of men who thought she wouldn't last a year in the business. But Catherine had lasted. She had thrived. And everything she'd built, every late night, every sacrificed weekend, every battle fought and won, it had all been for one person, her daughter, Olivia. "Mom, did you approve the transfer for my apartment renovation?" Olivia's voice carried from the doorway, casual and expectant. Catherine turned, taking in her daughter's appearance, designer jeans, cashmere sweater, the diamond earrings Catherine had given her for her 25th birthday last month. Olivia's blonde hair was swept into a messy bun, a style that somehow still looked elegant on her. "Good evening to you too, sweetheart," Catherine said, her tone gentle but pointed. "The transfer will be done tomorrow. I wanted to talk to you about the budget first." Olivia rolled her eyes, dropping her Gucci bag onto the white leather couch. "James already found the perfect contractor. We don't have time to shop around if we want it done before the holidays." Catherine took a measured sip of her drink. James Cooper had been in Olivia's life for just 8 months, but his influence over her daughter was unmistakable. The bright, ambitious girl who'd graduated with honors from Columbia was slowly being replaced by someone who seemed increasingly entitled and distant. "And James couldn't be here for this conversation because," Catherine asked, keeping her voice light. "He's networking with some investors. He says connections are everything in real estate development." Olivia scrolled through her phone, barely looking up. "Can we just do the transfer tonight? The contractor needs the deposit." Catherine set down her glass. "Olivia, you've spent almost $200,000 in the last 3 months. The credit card bills, the spontaneous trip to Bali, and now a complete renovation of an apartment that was remodeled just 2 years ago. Are you keeping tabs on me?" Olivia's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing. "I thought that money was for me to build my life." "It is," Catherine said carefully, "but I'm concerned about these spending patterns. They started when James came into the picture." "Don't start with this again." Olivia stood, her body tense. "James is helping me become independent, something you've never really wanted for me." Catherine felt the familiar sting of those words. "I've supported every dream you've ever had. I paid for your degree, your study abroad in Paris, your first business venture, which you micromanaged until I quit," Olivia interrupted, her voice rising. "James says that's your pattern. You give with one hand and control with the other." There it was again. "James says." 3 months ago, Olivia had stopped coming to family dinners. 2 months ago, she'd missed Catherine's birthday, for the first time in her life, with only a text message as acknowledgement. Last month, she'd withdrawn her application from the MBA program Catherine had encouraged her to pursue. "I'd like to meet with both of you," Catherine said firmly. "Let's have dinner tomorrow night." "He's busy tomorrow." "The day after then." "We're looking at potential investment properties." Catherine took a deep breath. "Olivia, I haven't had a real conversation with you in weeks. You're living off my support while accusing me of controlling you. Something isn't adding up." Olivia's phone chimed, and her expression changed as she read the incoming message. "I have to go. James is waiting." She grabbed her bag, heading for the door. "We haven't finished talking about the transfer," Catherine called after her. Olivia paused in the doorway, her profile illuminated by the hallway light. "Either you trust me or you don't, Mom. James says I need to set boundaries. With you, the renovation is important to us. To us or to him?" The words slipped out before Catherine could stop them. Olivia's shoulders stiffened. "You know what? Keep your money. We'll figure it out ourselves." That's not what I meant, Liv. No, you've made yourself clear. James was right about you. All along. After Olivia left, Catherine sank onto the couch, the silence of the penthouse pressing in around her. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to a name she hadn't called in years, Dr. Rebecca Chen, her former therapist. The same therapist who had helped her through the darkest period of her life, when Olivia's father had walked out, leaving Catherine to raise their 3-year-old daughter alone. The next morning, Catherine sat in Dr. Chen's office, the familiar surroundings bringing both comfort and unease. She's an adult, Catherine, Dr. Chen said after listening to her concerns. You can't force her to see what you see in this relationship. So I should just watch while this man isolates her from everyone who loves her, while he drains her accounts, my accounts, and fills her head with lies about me. Catherine's voice broke slightly. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Tell me about the last time you saw them together. What did you observe? Catherine thought back to a dinner 3 months ago. He kept answering questions directed at her. When she spoke, he would touch her arm like a signal. She would immediately backtrack or change her opinion to align with his. And the way he looked at me, calculating, as if he was assessing what he could get. And have you shared these observations with Olivia? I tried once. She accused me of being jealous because I'm alone. Catherine laughed bitterly, as if I haven't chosen to be single because raising her was my priority. Perhaps it's time to let Olivia make her own mistakes, Dr. Chen suggested gently. What if those mistakes destroy her? Catherine whispered. 2 days later, Catherine received a text from her son, Tyler, who was away at his freshman year of college. Mom, something's weird with Liv. She called asking if I could transfer her some money from my trust. Said it was urgent. Catherine felt her heart rate accelerate. She immediately called Tyler. Did you send her anything? She asked as soon as he answered. No way, that's my tuition money. But she sounded desperate, Mom. And when I asked about James, she got really quiet, then said he was working on a big deal that would solve everything. After hanging up, Catherine made a decision. She called her financial advisor and her lawyer. By the end of the day, she had set up new parameters around Olivia's access to family funds. Not a complete cutoff, but significant restrictions that would require Catherine's approval for large transfers. That evening, her phone rang. Olivia's name flashed on the screen. How could you? Olivia's voice was shaking with rage. You froze my accounts. You had no right. I'm protecting you, Olivia. Tyler told me. You're using Tyler against me now? James was right. He said you'd try to control me through money when you realized I was truly breaking free. Catherine closed her eyes, trying to stay calm. Sweetheart, please listen. This isn't about control. I'm worried about... Save it, Olivia cut her off. James and I are getting married next month. We were going to tell you this weekend, but now I don't even know if I want you there. The words hit Catherine like physical blows. Married? Olivia, you've known him less than a year. Why the rush? Because he loves me for me, not as some extension of himself, unlike you. Catherine gripped the phone tighter. That's not fair, and it's not true. I've always wanted you to be your own person. As long as I lived by your rules, in your world. Olivia's voice hardened. Well, I'm choosing my own path now with James. The invitation arrived by courier 3 days later, an elegant cream envelope with gold lettering. Catherine's hands trembled as she opened it. James Cooper and Olivia Morgan request your presence at their wedding ceremony. The date was just 4 weeks away, at a luxury resort in the Hamptons that Catherine knew would cost a fortune. She placed the invitation on her desk and called her private investigator, Michael Reeves, a former FBI agent who had helped Catherine vet potential business partners over the years. I need everything you can find on James Cooper. Professional history, financial status, previous relationships, everything. This about your daughter? Michael's voice was neutral, professional. Yes, and it's urgent. While she waited for Michael's report, Catherine tried reaching Olivia. Multiple times. Her calls went unanswered, her texts unread. She even went to Olivia's apartment, but no one came to the door. Though she was certain someone was inside, she could hear movement beyond the door. 3 days later, Michael's findings landed in her email. Catherine read through the document with increasing horror. James Cooper had changed his name twice. He had been engaged 3 times in the past 6 years, each time to women from wealthy families. 2 restraining orders had been filed against him by former partners, though both had been mysteriously withdrawn. His real estate empire consisted of a single LLC with no actual properties, just elaborately designed proposals and investment packets. His credit score was abysmal. Most alarmingly, he had accumulated nearly $300,000 in gambling debts at various underground poker games across the city. Catherine immediately called her lawyer, establishing clear legal protections for family assets. Then she tried Olivia again. This time her daughter answered, "Mom, I'm busy with wedding plans. What's so urgent?" "We need to talk in person about James." Catherine kept her voice steady. "There's nothing to discuss. You'll either support my decision or you won't." "Olivia, please, I've learned some things that concern me greatly. Give me 1 hour of your time." There was a pause, then a sigh. "Fine. Tomorrow at noon. That cafe near your office." But when Catherine arrived at the cafe the next day, it wasn't Olivia waiting for her. It was James, looking polished in an expensive suit she suspected he couldn't afford. "Mrs. Morgan," he greeted her with a practiced smile. "Olivia wasn't feeling well, so I thought we could clear the air, just the 2 of us." Catherine sat down across from him, maintaining her composure. "Where is my daughter, really?" His smile didn't waver. "She's at a dress fitting. She thought, it would be better if I spoke with you directly, given the tension between you two lately." "Interesting. And what would you like to say to me, Mr. Cooper? Or should I call you by one of your previous names?" A flicker of something, surprise, anger, calculation, crossed his face before disappearing behind his smooth facade. "I see you've been checking up on me. I expected nothing less from a woman of your thoroughness." "Let's cut to the chase," Catherine said coldly. "I know about your pattern: wealthy women, whirlwind romances, sudden engagements. I know about the gambling debts, the restraining orders." James leaned forward, dropping his voice. "And what exactly do you plan to do with this information? Tell Olivia. She won't believe you. I've made sure of that." "What do you want from us?" Catherine asked, although she already knew the answer. "A wedding gift." His smile returned, sharper now. $750,000. A modest investment in your daughter's happiness, wouldn't you say? Once we're married, I'll ensure Olivia maintains a suitable relationship with her mother. Catherine felt ice in her veins. "You're blackmailing me for access to my own daughter." "I prefer to think of it as negotiating terms that benefit everyone. Olivia gets her mother's blessing. You get to keep your daughter in your life, and I get compensation for dealing with your interference." Catherine stood, gathering her purse. "This conversation is over, and if you think I'll give you a penny, you're delusional." James remained seated, still smiling. "She told me you'd react this way. In fact, she predicted exactly what you'd say and do. Think about that, Catherine. I know your daughter better than you do now." That evening, Catherine's phone rang. Olivia's name appeared on the screen. "How dare you?" Olivia's voice trembled with rage. "James told me everything, the investigation, the accusations, the threats." "Threats? Olivia, I never—" "He recorded your conversation. You called him delusional. You refused to support our marriage." Catherine felt the blood drain from her face. A partial recording, manipulated to support his narrative. Of course. "Olivia, listen to me. He's manipulating you. He asked me for money, $750,000, to allow you to have a relationship with me after you're married. More lies. God, why can't you just be happy for me? Why do you have to control everything?" "I'm trying to protect you," Catherine said desperately. "I don't need your protection. I need you to respect my choices. Even if those choices will hurt you?" "The only person hurting me is you." Olivia's voice broke. "James was right about everything. You're toxic, Mom. You can't stand that I'm building a life that doesn't revolve around you." Catherine tried to stay calm, to find the right words, to break through the wall James had built around her daughter. "Olivia, please, just look into his background yourself. Ask why he's changed his name twice. Ask about his gambling. "Stop it," Olivia shouted. "I won't listen to this anymore. You've left me no choice." "What does that mean?" Olivia's next words came out cold and clear. "If you can't accept James, then I can't have you in my life. I'd rather lose you than him. That's my decision, and it's final." The line went dead. Catherine stood frozen, phone still pressed to her ear as if waiting for her daughter to call back, to say it had all been a terrible mistake. But the phone remained silent. That night she couldn't sleep. The words echoed in her mind. "I'd rather lose you than him." How had it come to this? How had this man managed to turn her daughter against her so completely in less than a year? By morning, Catherine had made her decision. She called her financial team and her lawyers. Within hours, they had executed her instructions precisely. Olivia's supplemental credit cards were cancelled. The automatic deposits into her account were stopped. The trust fund Catherine had established was legally restructured, still available to Olivia, but with new conditions that would prevent James from accessing it. The ownership of the apartment, which was in Catherine's name, was clarified, with building management. The lease on Olivia's luxury car, which Catherine had been paying, was terminated. Catherine wasn't vindictive. She arranged for Olivia's personal belongings to be carefully packed and stored. She didn't change the locks on the apartment immediately, giving Olivia time to collect her things. She paid for the remaining balance on Olivia's phone, but had it transferred to a separate account. The hardest call was to Tyler. "Your sister has made a decision that I need to respect," Catherine explained, trying to keep her voice steady. "There's going to be some distance between us for a while, but I never want to put you in the middle. Understand?" "Is this about that guy?" "James," Tyler asked, concern evident in his voice. "Mom, something's off with him. The one time I met him, he kept asking weird questions about our family money, about your business." "I know, sweetheart, but Olivia needs to see that for herself." Tyler was quiet for a moment. "What if she doesn't? What if she chooses him?" Catherine closed her eyes against the pain. "Then we'll be here waiting when she's ready to come back." 3 days passed with no word from Olivia. Then on the 4th day the messages started coming, first angry, then pleading, then desperate. "You can't just cut me off." The first voicemail, left at 2 a.m. "The landlord says the apartment is yours. Where are we supposed to live?" A text sent at dawn. "Mom, please. The wedding venue needs the final payment. James says his investors are delayed. Just this one thing, I swear." An email that afternoon. Catherine read and listened to each message, her heart breaking anew each time. But she remained firm in her decision. This wasn't about punishment. It was about breaking the cycle of enablement that had allowed James to isolate and manipulate her daughter. She drafted a simple response. "Olivia, I love you more than anything in this world. When you're ready to talk, really talk, I'll be here. But I won't finance the life James is creating to separate you from your family." 2 weeks passed. Catherine threw herself into work, staying at the office until midnight most days. Her assistant, Diane, who had been with her for 15 years, was the only one who dared broach the subject of Olivia. "Have you heard anything?" Diane asked. One evening, setting a fresh cup of coffee on Catherine's desk, Catherine shook her head, staring at the spreadsheet on her screen without really seeing it. "Tyler says she's been reaching out to family friends for loans, claiming it's for a business opportunity. And James. According to my investigator, he's been frequenting poker rooms again, and he's been seen with another woman." Catherine's voice was hollow. "Olivia doesn't know, or she's in denial." Diane squeezed Catherine's shoulder gently. "She'll see the truth eventually. You did the right thing." But alone in her penthouse at night, Catherine wasn't so sure. She found herself standing outside Olivia's old bedroom, preserved exactly as it had been when she left for college. Trophies from debate tournaments, photos from summer sailing camps. The ivy plant Olivia had nurtured since 8th grade, now cared for by Catherine's housekeeper. Catherine's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Your daughter's been hanging around your building lobby. Security almost called the police. Thought you should know." The text was from the doorman at her office building. Catherine immediately called down to her residential building security team, instructing them to allow Olivia up if she appeared, no matter the hour. The next morning, Catherine found a note slipped under her door. The handwriting was Olivia's, but shaky, unlike her usually perfect penmanship. "I need to talk to you. Please call me. It's urgent." Catherine tried the number immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. She left a message, then sent a text. No response. For 3 days, this pattern continued. Notes would appear, but when Catherine responded, she encountered silence. She asked her security team to show her the lobby footage. The images broke her heart. Olivia, looking thin and disheveled, pacing the lobby at odd hours, sometimes speaking animatedly to herself, other times just sitting in a corner chair, staring blankly ahead. Catherine contacted Dr. Chen again. "I'm worried she might be in trouble, really in trouble. But every time I reach out, she disappears." "Where is James in all this?" Dr. Chen asked. "I don't know. My investigator says he's been spending time at Atlantic City casinos. Olivia doesn't appear to be with him." "You need to find her, Catherine. Not to force a reconciliation, but to make sure she's safe." Catherine hired additional investigators, but Olivia seemed to have developed a sixth sense for when she was being followed. She would appear briefly near Catherine's buildings, then vanish for days. Then, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Catherine received a call from a number she didn't recognize. "Mrs. Morgan, this is Nurse Patel from Mount Sinai Hospital. We have your daughter, Olivia Morgan, in our emergency department." Catherine's world stopped. Is she all right?" "She's stable, but she's asking for you. She was brought in for severe dehydration, exhaustion, and what appears to be an anxiety attack." Catherine grabbed her keys and was at the hospital. Within 20 minutes, her heart pounding as she followed the nurse through sliding doors and antiseptic-scented corridors. They stopped outside a curtained area. "She's been in and out," Nurse Patel said quietly. "The doctor thinks she hasn't been eating or sleeping properly for some time." Catherine nodded, steeling herself before stepping through the curtain. Nothing could have prepared her for what she saw. Olivia lay on the hospital bed, an IV in her arm, her face gaunt and pale. Her once lustrous hair was dull and tangled, but it was her eyes that shocked Catherine the most. They were empty, haunted, as if the vibrant spirit that had always animated her daughter had been extinguished. "Mom?" Olivia's voice was a rasp. Catherine moved to her side, fighting the urge to gather her daughter into her arms. "I'm here, sweetheart." Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "He left. He took everything. My jewelry, my laptop, even my passport." Catherine gently took her daughter's hand, careful of the IV line. "When?" "A week ago, maybe longer. The days, they've all blurred together." Olivia's breath hitched. "He said he was going to Dubai to close a deal with investors. He needed money for the flight, for the right clothes to impress them. I gave him my grandmother's ring, the one you gave me for graduation." Catherine felt a surge of anger, but kept her voice calm. "Where have you been staying?" Olivia looked away, shame evident in her posture. "Different places, friends' couches at first, then wherever I could. The apartment building locked me out. My cards don't work." "Why didn't you come to me?" Catherine whispered. "I was too ashamed, and then I started to see things clearly, how he'd manipulated me from the beginning." A tear slid down Olivia's cheek. "But by then I felt trapped. He had isolated me from everyone, you, Tyler, my friends. He convinced me you were all toxic, that you were trying to control me." The doctor entered then, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. "Mrs. Morgan, could I speak with you privately?" In the hallway, the doctor's expression turned serious. "Your daughter is suffering from malnutrition and exhaustion, but my greater concern is her mental state. She's showing signs of significant psychological distress, consistent with someone who's experienced emotional abuse." "What do you recommend?" Catherine asked, her voice tight. "She needs rest, proper nutrition, and most importantly, professional psychological support. I'd like to keep her here overnight for observation, but after that she'll need ongoing care." Catherine nodded. "I'll arrange for everything." When she returned to Olivia's side, Her daughter seemed to have aged years in the span of minutes. Vulnerability etched into every line of her face. "I said terrible things to you," Olivia whispered. "Unforgivable things." Catherine shook her head. "That wasn't you speaking, not really. But it was me. I let him remake me into someone I didn't recognize, someone who would hurt the person who's always been there for me." Olivia's fingers clutched at the thin hospital blanket. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I see it all now. How he isolated me, how he used me to get to your money." "The doctor wants you to stay overnight," Catherine said, redirecting the conversation away from the painful past. "Tomorrow we'll talk about next steps." Olivia nodded weakly. "Where will I go? I have nothing left." Catherine had already decided. "I've arranged for a room at Silver Pine Retreat. It's a wellness center in Connecticut. They have excellent therapists, peaceful grounds, a place to heal. You're not taking me home." Olivia's voice was small. Catherine chose her next words carefully. "I think we both need some time and space to heal separately. I'm not abandoning you, Olivia. I'll pay for the retreat, your therapy, your basic needs. But rebuilding trust takes time, and rushing back to our old patterns won't help either of us." Fresh tears spilled from Olivia's eyes, but she nodded. "You're right. Of course you're right." Catherine stayed until Olivia fell asleep watching the rise and fall of her daughter's chest, remembering nights spent doing the same when Olivia was a colicky baby. Before leaving, she placed a small bag on the bedside table, clean clothes, basic toiletries, and a simple silver bracelet that had belonged to Catherine's mother. The next day, Catherine drove Olivia to Silver Pine herself. The car ride was mostly silent, the weight of unspoken words filling the space between them. As they pulled up to the elegant but understated entrance, Olivia finally spoke. "I don't deserve this. Your help, after everything." Catherine turned to face her daughter. "This isn't about deserving, Olivia. It's about healing. You're my daughter, and nothing will ever change that. But we need to rebuild on a different foundation than before." Inside, they were greeted by Dr. Sarah Williams, the center's director, who explained the program with warmth and clarity. Olivia would have individual therapy twice daily, group sessions, nutritional counseling, and wellness activities. No phones for the first 2 weeks. Limited supervised internet access, structure, safety, and support. As Catherine prepared to leave, Olivia suddenly grabbed her hand. "I don't know who I am anymore. Without him, without you." Catherine squeezed her daughter's hand. "That's exactly what you're here to discover." On the drive back to the city, Catherine called Tyler to update him, then Dr. Chen to thank her for her guidance. Lastly, she called Michael, her investigator. "I want to know if James Cooper resurfaces anywhere near my daughter," she instructed. "And I want evidence of every illegal thing he's ever done documented and ready, just in case." For the next month, Catherine established a new routine. She visited Olivia at Silver Pine every Saturday, always bearing the same gift, a journal and a pen. Nothing extravagant, nothing that could be construed as buying affection, just the tools for Olivia to continue the work of self-discovery. Their visits were structured, usually walks around the retreat's scenic grounds, supervised at first by Olivia's therapist, Dr. Rivera. They talked about neutral topics, books Olivia was reading, a new client Catherine's firm had landed, the changing seasons. Slowly, Olivia began to share insights from her therapy. "Dr. Rivera says I've been using relationships to avoid developing my own identity," she said during their 4th visit. "First with you, then with James, always defining myself through someone else's eyes." Catherine nodded, careful not to interject her own opinions. This was Olivia's journey. During their 6th visit, Olivia asked the question Catherine had been dreading. "Did you know about James before I told you?" Catherine hesitated, then decided on honesty. "Yes, I had him investigated." Olivia was quiet for a long moment. "You were right about him. But your methods, they were controlling." "Yes," Catherine admitted. "They were. I was so focused on protecting you that I didn't consider how it would affect your autonomy. It wasn't a perfect conversation. There were difficult moments, tears on both sides, but it was honest. And for the first time, Catherine saw a glimmer of the strong, thoughtful woman Olivia could become, separate from both her mother's expectations and James's manipulation. As Catherine prepared to leave that day, Olivia handed her an envelope. "Dr. Rivera suggested I write this. You don't have to read it now." Later that night, in the quiet of her penthouse, Catherine opened the letter with trembling hands. "Dear Mom," the letter began, in Olivia's neat handwriting. "There are so many things I need to say to you, but I'll start with the most important. I'm sorry. Not just for the words I said that day, but for every moment I allowed someone else to come between us, for every time I took your love and support for granted, for mistaking your protection for control. I've been doing a lot of thinking about why I fell for James so completely. Dr. Rivera has helped me see that I was looking for an identity outside of being Catherine Morgan's daughter. For so long, that's how everyone has seen me. Teachers, friends, even business contacts. I was proud of it, but also suffocated by it sometimes. When James came along, he made me feel like he saw me, just Olivia. What I didn't realize was that he was strategically separating me from everything that made me who I am, especially you. By the time I noticed what was happening, I was already trapped in a web of lies and manipulation that I couldn't see my way out of. The hardest part of my therapy has been accepting my own responsibility in all this. I chose to believe him over you. I chose to say those terrible words. No matter how manipulated I was, those were still my choices, and I have to own them to heal. I don't expect forgiveness right away, or maybe ever. But I want you to know that I'm working hard to become someone worthy of your trust again. Not because I want access to the financial support or the lifestyle I had before, but because you deserve a daughter who values the incredible love you've given her. With love and regret, Olivia." Catherine read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Then she called Dr. Chen and scheduled an appointment for herself. If Olivia was doing the hard work of healing, Catherine would do the same. Over the next 2 months, Catherine continued her weekly visits to Silver Pine. She also met regularly with Dr. Chen, examining her own patterns, the way she'd used financial support as a form of control, how she'd prioritized protecting Olivia over teaching her to protect herself, how she'd created a golden cage that had left her daughter vulnerable to someone like James. Halfway through Olivia's 3rd month at Silver Pine, Dr. Rivera suggested a joint therapy session. Catherine agreed immediately, though anxiety knotted her stomach as she entered the comfortable office where Olivia was already seated. "Thank you both for agreeing to this," Dr. Rivera began. "Olivia has made remarkable progress, and we're beginning to discuss her transition plan for leaving Silver Pine." Catherine felt a spike of fear. "Isn't it too soon?" Dr. Rivera smiled gently. "That's actually what I wanted to discuss today. Olivia has some ideas about her next steps, but she's concerned about your reaction." Catherine turned to her daughter. "What are you thinking, Olivia?" Olivia took a deep breath. "I don't want to come back to New York right away. I've applied for a position at a small marketing firm in Vermont. It's entry-level, nothing glamorous, but it's honest work. I'd be starting from the bottom, learning the business properly." "Vermont?" Catherine couldn't hide her surprise. "But why not work for Morgan Enterprises? You know I'd be happy to have you," Dr. Rivera interjected softly. "This might be a good moment to practice the communication techniques we've discussed, Olivia." Olivia nodded. "Mom, I appreciate that offer, I really do. But I need to build something for myself, by myself. If I come back to Morgan Enterprises, I'll always be the boss's daughter. I need to know I can succeed on my own merits." Catherine felt a complex mix of emotions: pride in Olivia's independence, fear at the distance, a touch of hurt at the rejection of her offer. But she recognized the wisdom in her daughter's words. "I understand," she said finally, "and I support your decision, but I have one condition." Olivia tensed. "What's that?" "Let me help you find a nice apartment in Vermont, not a luxury penthouse," Catherine added quickly, seeing Olivia's expression. "Something modest but safe. Consider it a one-time gift, not an ongoing subsidy. After a moment's consideration, Olivia nodded. That seems fair, thank you. It was the first negotiation they'd had as equals, both stating their needs clearly, finding compromise without manipulation or guilt. 2 weeks later, Catherine helped Olivia move into a small but charming apartment in Burlington, Vermont. The furnishings were simple, a far cry from the luxury Olivia had known, but there was something honest about the space. Catherine had resisted the urge to upgrade everything, honoring Olivia's desire for independence. "My first day at Evergreen Marketing is tomorrow," Olivia said as they unpacked kitchen items. "I'm terrified." Catherine handed her a mug to shelve. "You're going to be amazing. You have a natural talent for connecting with people." "When they're not sociopaths, apparently," Olivia said dryly. They both froze, then burst into unexpected laughter, the first they'd shared in nearly a year. It felt like the breaking of ice after a long winter. That evening, before Catherine left for her hotel, Olivia presented her with a small package. "What's this?" Catherine asked. "Open it." Inside was a simple silver frame containing a photo of Catherine and Olivia from years earlier, sailing on Long Island Sound. They were both laughing, hair windblown, squinting against the sun. "I found it when I was packing," Olivia explained. "I thought maybe you could put it in your office if you want." Catherine touched the image gently. "I'll put it right on my desk." The next 6 months brought a new rhythm to their relationship. Weekly phone calls, monthly visits, sometimes Catherine to Vermont, sometimes Olivia to New York. They established boundaries that both respected. Catherine didn't ask about Olivia's finances unless invited to do so. Olivia shared her work challenges and achievements, no longer hiding difficulties for fear of judgment. During one of Olivia's visits to New York, she asked to see Tyler, who was home from college for spring break. The reunion was awkward at first. Tyler had been hurt by how Olivia had tried to manipulate him during her time with James, but by the end of the evening, something of their old sibling bond had resurfaced. As the seasons changed, so did Olivia. Her confidence grew, not the false bravado she'd displayed with James, but something solid built on genuine achievement. She was promoted at Evergreen, her natural talents flourishing in an environment where she had to earn every accolade. She made new friends, joined a local hiking club, started taking photography classes at a community center. Catherine changed too. She began delegating more at work, making time for interests she'd neglected for years. She joined a sailing club, reconnected with old friends, even went on a few dates, though none sparked anything serious. One crisp fall day, almost exactly a year after the hospital incident, Catherine received a text from Olivia. "Are you free for dinner when you visit next weekend? There's someone I'd like you to meet." Catherine felt a flutter of anxiety. "Of course, anyone I know." "His name is David. He's a graphic designer at Evergreen. We've been seeing each other for about 2 months, taking it very slow." Catherine took a deep breath, reminding herself that this was Olivia's life to live, her choices to make. Looking forward to meeting him. The dinner was at a modest Italian restaurant near Olivia's apartment. Catherine arrived early, watching through the window as Olivia and a tall man with glasses approached. She was struck by the easy way they walked together. No possessive hand at Olivia's back, no constant checking of phones, none of the red flags that James had displayed from the beginning. David turned out to be thoughtful and articulate, clearly passionate about his work, but not domineering in conversation. He asked Catherine questions about her business with genuine interest, and spoke about Olivia with respect, not ownership. Most tellingly, he excused himself at one point so mother and daughter could have some time alone, the opposite of James's constant hovering. "What do you think?" Olivia asked once David had stepped away. "He seems lovely," Catherine said honestly, "but what matters is how you feel, and not just about him, but about yourself when you're with him." Olivia nodded, understanding the deeper question. "I feel like myself. He doesn't try to change me or isolate me. We disagree sometimes, and it's okay. I don't feel like I have to choose between him and the rest of my life." She paused. And I've told him everything about James, about what happened between us. No secrets, no shame. Catherine reached across the table and squeezed her daughter's hand. Then I'm happy for you. Later that night, back in her hotel room, Catherine found herself thinking about the long journey they'd traveled. The pain, the separation, the slow rebuilding of trust. It hadn't been easy and there would likely be challenges ahead. But watching Olivia tonight, confident, self-aware, making choices from a place of strength rather than insecurity, Catherine felt something she hadn't experienced in a very long time. Peace. Her phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. "Thank you for giving me the space to fall, and then the support to get back up. I love you, Mum." Catherine smiled through tears as she typed her response. "I love you too, sweetheart. Always have, always will." 6 months later, Catherine was working late in her office when her phone rang. Olivia's name flashed on the screen. "Mom?" Olivia's voice was excited. "I have news. Evergreen is opening a small satellite office in New York and they've asked me to head it up. I'd be moving back to the city next month." "That's wonderful news." "Congratulations, Olivia. You've earned this." "There's more," Olivia continued. "David's coming too. He got a position with a design firm in Brooklyn, and we're talking about moving in together. Nothing rushed, but it feels right." "I'm so happy for you both," Catherine said, meaning every word. "Have you started looking at apartments yet?" "Actually, I was wondering if we could get together this weekend to talk about neighborhoods. I've been researching, but you know the city better than anyone." "I'd love that. Why don't you both come over for dinner on Saturday? I'll pull together some information on up-and-coming areas that might suit you." "Perfect. Oh, and Mom, I want to make it clear. We're looking for something we can afford on our salaries. No Morgan subsidies this time." Catherine smiled at her daughter's gentle boundary setting. "Understood. I'll just be your real estate consultant, not your banker." When they hung up, Catherine walked to the window of her office, looking out at the New York skyline glittering against the night sky. She thought about the painful words that had once shattered her heart. "I'd rather lose you than him," and marveled at how far they'd come from that breaking point. The road to healing hadn't been smooth or straight. There had been setbacks and difficult conversations. But through it all, the love between mother and daughter had proven resilient enough to weather even the darkest storm. Not the same as before, perhaps better, stronger because it had been tested, more authentic because it was now built on mutual respect rather than dependence. As she gathered her things to head home, Catherine paused at her desk, looking at the framed photo of her and Olivia sailing. Beside it now stood a newer image: Olivia, Catherine, Tyler, and David at Thanksgiving in Vermont, all smiling, all connected, all choosing to be there. Family, Catherine reflected, wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about control or expectations. It was about love that remained steady even when tested, forgiveness that came not from obligation, but from understanding, and the courage to rebuild something broken into something beautiful. Outside, snow began to fall gently over the city, covering everything in a clean white blanket. A fresh start, a new chapter, a family reborn. 1 year after Olivia's return to New York, Catherine sat in the audience of a small community theater, watching as her daughter stepped up to the podium. The event was a fundraiser for a local organization that supported survivors of emotional and psychological abuse, and Olivia had been invited to share her story. "My journey began with 3 words that almost cost me everything," Olivia began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "I told my mother, I'd rather lose you than him. I chose a manipulative partner over the person who had always been my foundation. Today, I want to share how that choice led me down a path of destruction, and how finding my way back taught me the true meaning of love, boundaries, and self-worth." As Olivia spoke eloquently about her experiences, Catherine felt a complex mixture of emotions: pride in her daughter's courage, lingering pain at the memory of their separation, and profound gratitude for the healing they'd achieved together. After the event, as they walked arm in arm through the chilly November evening, Olivia turned to her mother. "Thank you for coming tonight. I know it wasn't easy to hear all of that again." "I wouldn't have missed it," Catherine said, squeezing her daughter's arm. Your story is helping others recognize patterns they might be trapped in. That's my hope, Olivia replied, that someone listening might see themselves and find the courage to make a change before they lose everything, like I almost did. They paused at a small cafe, stepping inside to escape the cold. Over steaming cups of tea, Olivia shared news about her expanding role at Evergreen's New York office. David had proposed last month, and they were planning a small wedding in the spring. Tyler was thriving in his final year of college and had been accepted to a prestigious graduate program. Life has a way of coming full circle, Catherine observed, but never quite back to the same place. We're all different now, stronger, I think. As they prepared to leave the cafe, Olivia noticed a young woman at a nearby table listening intently to their conversation. The woman looked away quickly when Olivia caught her eye, but not before Olivia recognized the familiar signs. The nervous demeanor, the constant checking of her phone, the way she flinched slightly when it buzzed. Olivia hesitated, then walked over to the woman's table. "Excuse me," she said gently. "I don't mean to intrude, but I spoke at an event earlier tonight about recognizing the signs of an unhealthy relationship. If you'd ever like to talk or just need resources." She placed a brochure from the organization on the table. The woman stared at the brochure for a long moment before meeting Olivia's eyes. "How did you know?" she whispered. "Because I've been where you are," Olivia said simply, "and I found my way out." As Catherine watched this exchange from a distance, she realized that their painful journey had created something powerful, not just healing for themselves, but the potential to help others find their own path to recovery. Later, that night, as Catherine prepared for bed, she thought about how stories connect us, how sharing our darkest moments can illuminate the way forward for others. The story of her family, their fall and redemption, wasn't just their private history anymore. It had become a beacon, a testament to the resilience of love when faced with its greatest challenges. Dear listeners, we hope Catherine and Olivia's journey has touched your heart as deeply as it has touched ours. Their story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, when the bonds we treasure most seem irreparably broken, there remains the possibility of healing and renewal. For more stories that explore the complexities of family relationships and the power of resilience, we've created a special playlist just for you. You'll find it by clicking the link on the left of your screen. Each story in this collection examines the delicate balance between love and boundaries, control and freedom, forgiveness and self-respect. If you've been moved by today's narrative, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Your support allows us to continue bringing these emotionally rich stories to life. And we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below, perhaps sharing a moment when you've had to rebuild trust in your own life, or how you've navigated challenging family dynamics. Remember, new stories are released every week, each one carefully crafted to illuminate the depth and beauty of the human experience. Join our growing community of listeners who find comfort, insight, and inspiration in these shared journeys through life's most profound challenges. Thank you for listening, for feeling, and for being part of our storytelling family.